Hi, this is Jane with Green Side Up. Today we are going to be talking about aquatic plants, water plants. So we're going to be talking about some of the types of plants that are on my sign, that are in my pond, and why you might want some of these in your pond. Say you're going to have a water garden. You're going to have the water, and maybe you have a couple fish. But if you don't have the plants, you don't have a garden. So you're definitely going to want to include some plants in your water feature. Now, it may be a very small water feature, just, a pond like this. Or it might be actually like a natural pond that's in your backyard, either one that you've put in or one that's been there. A water feature can be very small, it can be larger, but you're going to want to have some plants in it no matter what the size. So besides adding beauty to your water feature, a couple of other reasons to have plants is, number one, they will provide oxygen for the water. So say that you have fish in there. Fish need oxygen. Another thing is that there are certain plants that can prevent overgrowth of like algae, which is an unwanted plant in your garden. Here at our store, we have this nice water garden sign, and I'm going to use this to help explain a few things. Planting your pond or your water garden. Add a splash of nature to your garden. And it lists 4 categories. It says water lilies, marginals, floaters, oxygenators. So we're going to be talking a little bit about each of those categories. This part of my sign has some little pictures, some little drawings. So we're going to talk about this. We talked about the water lilies. That would also be considered possibly an oxygenator. It is a submerged plant. It sits underneath the ground here. This is also considered an oxygenator down here. Something that's down underneath the water. Something like this, which is a cattail, and also, like these. These are considered marginal. So those are plants that sometimes they can be underwater, 6 to 12 inches, or they may be sitting right at the pond's edge. So sometimes they'll get wet and sometimes they'll dry out a little bit. Those are the marginal plants. And then, of course, there are the floaters. Those are the plants that sit literally on top of the water. Their roots hang down. So we're going to be talking about just some different varieties of plants, the good things and sometimes not the good things about those plants. Probably one of the easiest areas to fill is what's called the marginal plants. They're the plants that grow around a pond. They like water, they like to have wet feet, but they don't want to be submerged. So some of the plants that would be like that would be, for instance, some of the grasses. This is called a papyrus grass. It doesn't get flowers, but it's got this cool top. Another grass, and I'm sorry, I did cut this back a little while ago, but this is a reed grass, but look at, it's almost a corkscrew. Isn't that cool? When you put something like this around your pond, it gives you some height. It gives you that height. It gives you that contrast, and they're really pretty. There are some other plants. So for instance, a canna lily. A canna lily could grow alongside your pond. It gives that tropical feel. The leaves are different colors. It has the pretty flowers. Other types of plants would be like a sweet flag, which is another type of grass. There are cattails, which are considered kind of a marginal plant. Cattails actually grow in the water, and then they grow up. And in the fall, the cattail will mature to be a brown, I don't know, it's about this long, I suppose. I don't know how to describe it. It's fuzzy. And they're very pretty. They give contrast. I'm holding here in my hand another type of marginal plant. This one is called the Venus flytrap. And these are samples of pitcher plants. Actually, the Venus flytrap and certain kinds of pitcher plants are native to us here in North Carolina. There's a lake not too far from here between Fayetteville and the ocean where they grow natural. And that means that they are also perennial. They are considered a bog plant or a marginal plant. They will kind of die back in the winter. They will come up in the summer. As you see, this Venus flytrap actually has a flower on it, and they're very pretty. Things like a Venus flytrap and the pitcher plant get their nutrients from bugs. You don't have to fertilize them. So if you have little bugs flying around, they have to be big enough that the plant can feel them, but they will catch some of those natural insects that are out there. So right now we're going to talk about the floaters, the ones that sit on the top of the water. This is called a water hyacinth. Look at that root. You see it there? So these water hyacinths, they sit right on top of the water. The root system floats down, into the water. And I mean, I've seen roots easily this long. The water hyacinth will actually get a purple flower. They're very pretty. And they will offer shade for like a fish. They will offer a little food. Sometimes those fish will kind of eat on the roots. And they're a beautiful plant to have. Another floater that we have, this is called a water lettuce. Again, you have your long root system. Now the water lettuce, it has a softer leaf, whereas the other one has a shiny leaf. This is a very soft leaf. The water lettuce does not get a flower, but again, it sits on top of the water. Now I got to tell you about one thing that is sometimes not so good. These things multiply. I mean, they really can multiply. And so you start out with just a few, and all of a sudden your pond is covered in this stuff. For instance, last fall here, we had put some in our pond, and when it came time in the fall to clean it up, we raked up buckets and buckets and buckets of these plants. So you do have to be a little bit careful. You don't want them to overtake the whole pond. Although they will act as an oxygenator, if you have it completely covered, then you're not going to have that oxygen exchange happening either. You always have to kind of walk that fine line. There is a plant I want to talk to you about. Now, they've talked about it as, it's called duckweed, and duckweed multiplies even faster than these, and it will literally take over. My advice is don't get duckweed, because it will take over your pond and it's really, really hard to get rid of. There's a lot of plants like a water lettuce. In the winter, the cold of the winter will kill off some of these plants. But if it is an invasive species, even that cold doesn't take care of all of it, and it's better just to be safe than sorry. It's better not to introduce some of those plants into your pond, especially if you have a natural pond. I hope that this has helped you some in your decisions of what types of plants you might want in your water feature. We will have obviously some plants available here at Green Side Up. If you have questions about, I don't know, what kind of plants you should use, feel free to come on in and talk to us. You can leave comments at the bottom in the comment section of this video, and I guess I'm looking forward to seeing you. This is Jane with Green Side Up, hoping to see you real soon.